Hi everyone, my name is Rodel, and in this video I would like to show you, this is a two-part video where I would like to show you how you can use Yuniql to deploy and seed your database when your ASP.NET Core service starts up. So Yuniql is a database versioning and tool that is made natively with .NET Core. And in this video we would like to make Yuniql works as part of your ASP.NET Core application and not as a CLI. For this demonstration to work, we're going to need a couple of things. The first one is we need a running database server where we can deploy things. We need a .NET Core SDK. Also, we're going to use the Yuniql CLI so that I can show you how you can use Yuniql CLI to initialize a new database project. And at the same time, a sample database that we would like to deploy. For that, let's try to see if our environment is ready. So in this particular case, I'm using SqlServer on Docker. Let's see, I would typically use a Docker container for demonstration purposes, so I could always create and destroy it. Okay, so we have now a SqlServer. It may take a while before it becomes accessible. Let's try to connect to it just to see if it's ready to accept our connection. Okay, not yet. So it sometimes it takes a while. Okay, so okay, so it's ready. You can see it's an empty instance. No. The next thing is we need a .NET SDK. So let's see what we have here. We should have .NET 3.0 or greater. That's fine. And we also need a Yuniql CLI. I have pre-installed Yuniql from Chocolatey, but there are various distribution channels for you to install it. So and sometimes so we've got everything all set up, all geared up. But then we also need a database sample. So in this session, which I use in most of my demo, we're going to use this sample, a human resource information system database. This is a database that goes to you that over time it has evolved, and at the moment the latest state of the database is that it has 3 plus 2, 5, it has 7 tables, and those tables has been created in various point in time. So version 00 have regions, countries, and locations, whereas the latest version would have employees and dependents. Let's try to see how that works. So I think we're ready now. Our environment is ready, so we're going to use the temp directory here. So the next step is to create an actual ASP.NET Core project. So this time I'm using this scaffolding command, .NET new web, to create an ASP.NET Core. Now it seems to be ready. Let's Ctrl C because that command sometimes hangs. Let's see if it's already there. Okay, so we've got the project created now. So let's try to build it. All right, it's almost there. Okay, that's building, and let's try to actually run this. Yeah, that run. Okay, so we've got an ASP.NET Core web API or web app that is actually running right now and ready to be started. So we've got now a new ASP.NET Core project. Our next step is actually to create our sample database. So this time I'm going to create a hypothetical directory here called db. This is where we will create our Yuniql namespace. So let's see that. And it's empty right now. What we're going to do right now is to create the baseline directory structure that is good enough for Yuniql to perform its database migration. So this time we're going to do a Yuniql init. There's nothing really fancy here. It's just basically creates the directories and the necessary files that is required, and you can of course create all of those folders by hand. There's nothing really magical around here. It just helps you auto create all of those tables. Let's try to take a look how it looks. So we've got the ASP.NET Core sample here. We've got the project ready to be built. We have a database project here that is empty. In principle, nothing here is an empty workspace. Now we need a script, because typically you need some create tables to create those scripts, those tables of the database. With that in mind, I'm going to cheat a little bit. So let's try to copy some of the samples we have here for SqlServer. And I'm going to copy all of these 3 versions here. Let's also include the erase command. Yep. Let's go back a little bit. So this is our ASP.NET Core DB. We're going to replace everything. Just to show you that there's nothing magic here, it's basically SQL files that says I would like to create those regions, countries, and locations. And I have another script that says I want to populate all of those tables with these initial values. Whereas in version 0.1, it's quite interesting because this time you don't want to create insert scripts. Yes, I still would like to create those jobs and departments tables, but this time I would like to use a CSV file. And the DBO is the default schema for SqlServer, but whereas you could always try to use this as HRIS if you use that kind of schema approach, or if you want a certain degree of order when they are workloaded, you could also name it like this: 0.1 department if departments have to come first before jobs. So there are a couple of various options here. And version 0.2, nothing really special. Again, it's create tables, plain standard old school SQL. Yes, I think we are ready. So we've got the environment, we've got the sample database project initialized. Let's now go to our ASP.NET Core project itself. This time I'm going to use Visual Studio, or you could use VS Code as well if you will. That works as well. While we load, I'm going to show you that the first thing that we have to do, and it's really let me just clean it up because for demonstration purpose we don't need all of those. I'm going to paste here the 3 steps that is needed to make this work. First one, of course, we need a database. That's what we have done so far. We have a SQL server that is running, a Docker. The step 2 is to create a console trace service. That is actually an implementation of an iTrace service of Yuniql. This allows you to basically choose whatever logging framework you want within your application. So if you use Serilog or Log4net or a custom logger, you could just implement the iTrace service and feed that to Yuniql when the migration runs. So you have a well integrated logging sync or information. And I'm gonna cheat again. So this time I'm just going to paste a ready-made available class called console trace service. So again, nothing really fancy here, accept some commands, print it into the console screen. Yeah, of course it's red. And why is that? Because we have not added the our NuGet package. So let's try to do that now. So there are many NuGet packages in Yuniql, but this one we need the ASP.NET Core. So you have to choose this Yuniql.ASP.NET Core. This is all you need for this to work actually. So let's try to install that. Okay, and let's yeah, accept this. All right, mindless all those errors. It's just because we have not updated our references yet. So now we've got actually the NuGet package implemented. Let's try to use Yuniql. This uses Yuniql.ASP.NET Core. So now we've got reference available here, and see here, this one uses system.io. So let's just add that, and this one uses the extensibility interface. Yes, I might as well in the future just implement it in the extensibility as ready made available. So let's dissect this. So we've got the SQL Server here. We have the console trace service implementation or your own implementation. Then we call the use Yuniql extension method of the application builder, which says I'm going to feed you a tracer service. So write your logs using this, and then run a migration when this starts up. The platform is SqlServer, and use this project here. So we're going to run Yuniql migrations using this directory. And this is the connection string to our SqlServer container. Create the database if it doesn't exist, and print debug information so we can diagnose what's going on. So with that in mind, let's try to build this. I'm not gonna use the Visual Studio because sometimes it has to load a lot of debug symbols, which is time consuming in this demo. Okay, so the type or name says Yuniql could not be found. Okay, that's strange. Maybe sometimes you just need to build it first here. Okay, I've seen that error a couple of times for weird reason, but let's try to do it again. All right, so it's run, it's built, and now this time let's try to run it. So what we're expecting is when we do this, it will try to run the migrations on startup and then set up our database and and seed it. Okay, looks all good. So let's go to our SQL Server here. We expect a database created here. Yes, looks good. We have tables, and the tables are created as well. We expect the tables also to be seeded. This is particularly interesting, for instance, the departments, because that uses the CSV file. And you can see that the departments and the jobs are well seeded. Okay. And of course, if you stop this and if you try to run again, since the database has been running the latest version, we do not expect anything to change. So you can see that. So it also, somewhere in the log, we should be able to see that it's already running the latest version. Yeah, can't find the log right now. Yes. All right, so let's stop this. What I would like to show you now is, now you have a database that is running. You have run some of your tests. You have some transaction data maybe in some of the other tables here. Let's try to clear this out, because I would like to erase the entire database and all the tables around it, but I don't want to drop it in that particular case. So this time we're going to use the Yuniql CLI again. Yuniql erase -force -debug. And then of course this time I need a connection string. So Yuniql erase, force it, debug, and use the okay, we need to go to the directory first, and then we say Yuniql erase force print debug information, and then use this connection string. So we're just gonna copy the connection string we have here. And of course we forgot to say this is SqlServer, although I think it's by default. So let's try to erase our database. Okay, let's take a look. And now the database is empty again. If, of course, we try to run the test again. And now I'm going to go to the top again. So running the ASP.NET Core, the startup command will kick it again. And now we are reconstructing the database all over as a fresh database. All right, I hope that gives you some idea on how you can leverage Yuniql so that we have so your database starts up and gets seeded as part of your core application. If you're interested, of course, we would like you to visit our GitHub repository. And you can see some of the references here. We also have all the available supported databases there. So this is an example for SqlServer, but exactly almost a similar approach would work for PostgreSql, MySql, and MariaDB. We have just implemented Snowflake and Redshift. Please try that out as well. Appreciate if you could give a star and create issues or feature requests, because it really helps a lot in maturing the tool when we know better how it works out there on the field. The documentation is available on Yuniql.io. What I have shown to you is actually just exactly part of this documentation here in the migrate via ASP.NET Core app. So I have just went through what I have shown to you in the beginning, and so this best describe what it is. With that in mind, so I got another video, and this time it's going to be on a .NET Core app. So the first one is an ASP.NET Core. This time is for a background worker or a worker app. So stay tuned for this next video. All right. Thank you.